Thank you for listening to the Bladder Battle Podcast special series, Flarey Tales. This new series gives inspirational warriors with bladder conditions and other chronic illnesses, such as interstitial cystitis, a chance to share their personal journey. This series is also intended to bring awareness and create conversation around this illness and other invisible illnesses as well. This podcast is not intended to be a medical alternative for physician care, nor to treat, cure, or prevent any illness or disease. So please always consult with your physician for professional medical advice. Today, I invite the founder of the Spoonie Sister Shop, Michelle Griffith, to share her personal journey and story and her supportive efforts for spoonies everywhere living with invisible illnesses so that they can feel a sense of community and support. So, Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I am very excited to learn a little bit more about your shop and your passions behind developing it. I came across it recently, and I have to say that it was the first time that I felt like I was part of a community. So it gave it just gave me a really great feeling, and I haven't seen anything like it before. So hats off to you. I think it's amazing what you're doing. So I kind of want to learn a little bit about you before we get into your shop. So kind of what's your personal story and experience with chronic illnesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of a long backstory for me, but to keep it short, I had a series of 3 rare vascular and nerve compression syndromes, which all went undiagnosed for about 7 years. These conditions caused chronic, severe, debilitating abdominal pain to the point where it was extremely difficult to eat, breathe, move, or speak, but no doctors could figure out what was going on. No one could figure out what the source of the pain was. Eventually, it escalated to the point of causing severe malnutrition, and I was essentially bedbound for about 4 years.
Wow.
I saw over 50 doctors, traveled cross country to go to one of the most renowned clinics in the country, but still no one could figure out what was going on. But finally, after about 7 years, an interventional radiologist discovered my May-Thurner syndrome. And then shortly after that, I found a surgeon who ended up completely changing my life. He discovered that I had renal nutcracker syndrome and also that I had median arcuate ligament syndrome. And all 3 of these are just congenital vascular nerve compression syndromes, which completely explained the severe debilitating pain. So I had 3 surgeries to alleviate those and feeling so much better after that. At this point, I do still have a few chronic illnesses. They're all called mast cell activation syndrome, dysautonomia, venous insufficiency, and a few more minor conditions, but I'm extremely grateful to be at the point now where I can eat, breathe, move, and speak pretty much without pain. So that's great.
Yeah, that's incredible. So we kind of know how this has affected you negatively. I mean, being bedridden for 4 years, that's just unacceptable to me. So It's amazing, though, that a doctor was able to get to the root cause. You were able to get surgery. So kind of what are some of the positive outcomes from having those 3 illnesses and then some of your other illnesses? So how have those affected you positively? I know this is a weird question, but it's amazing kind of what we go through and what we find out, about ourselves and our life when we get diagnosed with illnesses. So what are some of those positive things that you've encountered?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually really thankful for this whole health journey. I do wish the diagnosis journey could have been shorter, but there were a lot of positives that came out of it. I guess it opened my eyes to just how many people were living with chronic illness all over the world. Like it's not a rare thing. It's very common. It also taught me to advocate like crazy for others and myself. and taught me to, I guess, just to never underestimate the value of genuine kindness to random strangers. You just never know what people are going through.
100%. I can definitely agree with you there. Just having more compassion and more empathy for everyone, whether they have an illness or not. It's pretty incredible kind of what comes out when you start going through these things.
Yeah.
So aside from being, bedridden for 4 years, not knowing what was going on with you, having that lack of diagnosis for such a long time, what were some of the other struggles that you faced during that time? So maybe, how has this affected your relationships, your mental health? Did you feel like you had a support system, readily available to you?
Yes. When my symptoms first started, I was 18 years old. So it definitely impacted the way that I interacted with people, with my relationships with others. I tended to try to hide my symptoms from everyone. And eventually that just made me become pretty antisocial, I guess. Then, of course, when I reached the bedbound stage, I ended up losing touch with many of my friends. But I am extremely grateful to have had an incredibly supportive family the entire time. They stood by my side through thick and thin. And I also have a few friends that did the same, and I'm super thankful for them too. I guess from a mental health perspective, though, my journey, going undiagnosed so long, it was very, very trying. There were a few periods of time where it definitely took a toll on my mental health, just because it seemed like we were never going to find any answers, and therefore we're never going to get any treatment options. So I did slip into a pretty deep depression for a while, but thankfully, when we started being able to put the puzzle pieces together of all my different diagnoses, thankfully, eventually I started to crawl out of that depression. And at this point, I'm doing really well with my mental health. So that's great.
That's great. Yeah. That's key.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I guess along the way, there were also struggles. I had a really good support at home and by my friends and stuff, but I did struggle with support with a few of my doctors. I was really lucky that most of the time I saw well-intentioned doctors who truly did want to help me, but they just didn't know how. They couldn't know everything about every condition, and I completely understand that. But there were several who would just straight up tell me to stop searching for answers, that I was never going to feel better, things like that. And it was always very devastating to hear. But I guess the good news is eventually I did connect with the incredibly supportive online Spoonie community, which I'm very thankful to have connected with.
Yes, I think it's kind of the same thing for me. I didn't quite find support through medical professionals, although there are some great doctors out there. But for me, I didn't feel a connection with my doctors. And no one in my family has any experience with my specific condition, but they do with other illnesses. So I kind of felt a bit lonely and sort of in the dark, so to speak, about, where do I find support? Who's going through this? And then I found a community online. So thankfully, we're living in this digital age and we can connect with people all over the world, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Kind of speaking about the Spoonie community, can you define what the spoon theory is? Because I just came across this a few months ago, and I'm actually baffled that I didn't know about this prior, because I've been living with chronic illnesses for 7-8 years now. And once I kind of figured out what the spoon theory is, it just sort of clicked for me. So why don't you define that for us?
Yeah, you got it. So the spoon theory is basically just this metaphor. It was thought of by a lady named Christine Miserandino, where she basically says, okay, so most healthy people have the energy to do anything they need to do in a day, right? Well, the problem is if you have a chronic illness, you only have a limited amount of energy. So she grabbed a bunch of spoons, like literal fork and knife, a spoon, and said, okay, here's 12 spoons. Each spoon represents 1 unit of energy. So a spoon equals energy. If you have a chronic illness, you have to ration your spoons each day because every activity uses up some of your spoons. So each time you do something like make breakfast or go to work or school, or you do laundry, cook dinner, anything like that, all of them use up spoons. So a spoonie is someone who only has a limited number of spoons or energy to spend each day. And you don't want to run out of spoons.
Absolutely. You definitely don't want to run out of spoons. And I think it's so important for people with invisible illnesses or chronic illnesses or autoimmune diseases to understand that it's okay to not have the energy that you used to have. You can't compare yourself to what you once were or to other people, because what you're able to do might be limited from other people. And you just have to, in the basic sense, take it easy and just know, okay, today I can maybe do a workout and clean, but that's all I'm going to do today. And the rest of the day, I'm going to relax. So you have to really kind of balance that, the craziness of life, and understand that you can only do so many things a day. So
yeah,
it is a very good metaphor and breakdown of how we deal with energy and how limited our energy is. So it's a great theory. I think kind of opened my eyes when I first read about it. And I was like, this makes total sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the exact same reaction. You're like, this is what I've been trying to explain for so long, but I didn't know how to put words to it. And so you're exactly right. You know, you just have to be wise with your spoons, wise with how you spend your energy. Some days you'll be able to do more than other days, but you just kind of learn to work around it.
Absolutely. So recently I was speaking with a lady that owns kind of a natural medicine practice. And when I had my consultation with her, she picked up on something that I said, and she was like, you just owned your illness. You don't want to own your illness. And to me, that was just crazy. I was like, what do you mean? I don't want to own my illness. Like, this is me now. And without it, I don't know who I would be. And I'm actually, I don't want to have this, but it has changed my life in so many ways that are positive. So yes, I want to be identified with this. So what is your take? And this kind of goes with your shop, but what is your take on owning your illness and identifying with it?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think owning your illness is so much more pleasant than trying to run from it or hide from it. I know it's much easier said than done, but if you can become comfortable with your illness to the point of identifying with it and confidently spreading awareness of it, suddenly it's not this huge, scary thing anymore. Suddenly you're the one in control, not your illness. So I think your illness doesn't completely define you, but it's also definitely okay to identify with it instead of trying to hide it from the world. That way, not only are you practicing self-love, but you're also helping those around you who are facing their own medical journeys see that it's okay to be comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah, I think that's very well put, because when I had heard that statement that you don't want to identify or own your illness, I found that crazy, because it makes you feel even lonelier. And trust me, I went through the stages of acceptance when I got diagnosed, and I went through the denial stage saying, I don't have this illness. But when I finally accepted it, that's when my symptoms started to subside, and I started to really take it seriously that I need to go through these different steps every day to start feeling better, to start recovering. I need to take certain things to maintain my, well-being. And there are some more things that I'm going to find out and more supplements that I'm going to have to take. And it basically, the outcome of it was that I created an emergency kit for when I'm in a flare. And now I can deal with something within 24 hours. And I feel like I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't owned my illness.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that outcome of owning your illness and being able to just roll with it and embrace it. And now you know exactly what you need to do to, help your body as much as possible and just work with your illness instead of trying to fight it or run away from it.
Right. Exactly. So let's get into your shop, because I think your whole purpose is identifying and showing the world like, hey, I have this illness and I'm owning it and I'm confident with it. So let's kind of talk about, your sole purpose and your passion behind developing the Spoonie Sister Shop.
Yeah, absolutely. So my sole purpose and passion is to empower other Spoonies to feel validated, supported, and confident in their unique chronic illness journeys. The idea of Spoonie Sister Shop first came to me when I discovered the online chronic illness community. And I saw all of these incredible humans just proudly spreading awareness of their conditions on social media or blogs or things like that. And through their words and actions, they were putting out these amazing messages. And I was like, wow, these chronic illness warriors are really making a difference by helping other people understand that they aren't alone in their medical journeys. So they inspired me to stop trying to hide my own chronic illnesses and spread awareness of them instead. So I immediately thought of trying to just, get a few cute t-shirts with designs on them about my rare conditions, just to help me spread awareness, make it a little easier and more obvious. But I was shocked because, first off, there was absolutely nothing available to raise awareness for my rare conditions. And secondly, all the awareness apparel that was available online was just way too cheesy. It can get pretty cheesy. And so I thought to myself, okay, there has got to be a better way. And that's how Spoonie Sister Shop was born.
I have to agree with you because I've been trying to find an interstitial cystitis awareness t-shirt for a while, and the association has some tank tops and some t-shirts available, but they're not fitted. They just have the ribbon on it. It's, it's basic. It wasn't what I was looking for. And I've been trying to find a cute t-shirt to put my illness on there. So when I came across your shop, I'm like, this is what we need. This is perfect. This is cute. Very well designed. I love the little spoons. Your logo's cute. So, very well done there, and making something that's very, ugly and horrific to deal with on a daily basis and turning it into something that's very cute and fashionable,
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Definitely just trying to turn these, really trying conditions into something that is cute and fun and modern and something that people can be proud to wear,
Absolutely. So what have some of the responses been from some of your invisible illness warriors? What are some of the reviews you've gotten on your shop? What's the response been like?
Oh, I've just been blown away by the response from invisible illness warriors and those with visible illnesses too. I just see every single day, I see Spoonies making awareness posts on social media in their Spoonie Sister Shop gear or writing reviews on my site. And it's truly the most fulfilling thing ever to see them so confident and comfortable with their conditions, all because they've finally been heard. When it's something as simple as a t-shirt, it's really not about the shirt itself. It's just about the message that I'm here to support you and you're here to support me, and we'll get through this journey together. And there's just nothing better than that.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that, because when I initially came across your site, I'm not kidding when I say that like a tear came into my eye, because I'm like, wow, I actually feel like I'm part of something, and there's actually somebody out there that cares enough to put the amount of effort that you've put into this. So I understand that there's a whole, logistical consideration behind your shop. It's not just an easy thing to put together. So for someone to take the time to do that, and not only just for your illnesses that you deal with, but so many other things. I was looking at the list of illnesses that you have t-shirts, created for, and other items. And it's amazing because many of us do suffer from not only just one, but we can have up to 5, 10 illnesses that we're all suffering through. So yeah, it was pretty amazing. I just felt like this sense of joy, and and it just brought a tear to my eyes. So I was like, I have to get this girl on my show because this is incredible. And yeah, and I love that you can make your custom shirts, because there's so many out there, there's so many illnesses and everyone's dealing with, different situations. So I love that you have that custom feature as well.
Thank you.
As far as the items that you sell, I know you have t-shirts, but what are some of the other items that you have available on your site?
Yeah, so we do t-shirts. We also do things like sweatshirts and hoodies. We do things like stickers and mugs and little pouch bags, things like that. It's a pretty wide range, but the main thing that I guess we focus on is making sure that there's such a wide range of conditions that are represented and that everything is customizable. I guess that's the biggest thing is we just, like you touched on, we just want to be able to customize any shirt, any sweatshirt, anything to raise awareness of any rare condition, no matter how rare or how common. We just want to make sure that everyone feels represented in their condition.
When exactly did you start the Spoonie Sister Shop? When was this founded?
It was founded in October of 2018, so just a little over 2 years ago.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Put all this effort into this. I find this, so incredible.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can we find your shop? What's your URL?
So you can find Spoonie Sister Shop. It's an Etsy shop. It's online at www.etsy.com/shop/Spoonie Sister Shop. And you can also find us on Instagram at Spoonie Sister Shop, along with Facebook, Pinterest, and TikTok at Spoonie Sister Shop.
That's amazing. Definitely want to get on that. TikTok is just blowing up. So that's great that you're that you're on there. So before we wrap it up, what additional thoughts or, recommendations or inspiration do you have for others that are, dealing with invisible illnesses?
I guess my last thoughts are just emphasizing how important it is for all invisible illness warriors to self-advocate. You have to stand up for yourself, communicate with your doctors, push for better symptom management. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to help spread awareness of your invisible illnesses. Because by spreading awareness, we open up new dialogues, we help each other understand our journeys, we become more comfortable and accepting of our own bodies and learn from each other, and ultimately just help reduce the length of time it takes for others to be diagnosed and receive the treatments that they need.
Yeah, I think that's key because many of us have gone through the years of being misdiagnosed or not diagnosed at all. And so to sort of have that confusing in the dark feeling, creating this community where maybe someone else has gone through that same experience might be able to help someone else shorten that length of being misdiagnosed or not diagnosed at all. So I think that's a great way to close it off. So Michelle, I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. I love learning about your passion project, the Spoonie Sister Shop. So again, thank you so much for, explaining that to us and sharing your personal story.
Oh, thank you so much, Lauren. And thank you for hosting me here. I love your podcast and I am honored to be on here. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And also, everyone, make sure you go and check out the Spoonie Sister Shop on Etsy. Lots of great stuff on there. And like we touched on, you can customize it for your own illness. So I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen today, and make sure to subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or leave a rating or a review on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. And stay tuned for the next episode right here on the Bladder Battle Podcast.